Welcome, everybody. What a number. Simulation Talk 333. Oh, we can change the cameras now. I forgot. Let's do that. Boom. Money. Better camera. Uh, do we need an angle? Yeah, we didn't need a different angle, but for today, this works. Hello, everyone. Simulation Talk 333. Oh, no. If it's going to be doing that, we're going to be canceling this. Yeah. Well, we'll see. If it does it again, there's also a bit of a latency, so we'll definitely change this. By the way, do you guys? Yeah, no, that's no bueno. That is a no bueno. All right. Guess I have to work this out a little bit more. Okay. Welcome everybody to Simulation Talk 333. Lucky number. Guru, how are you, my brother? So good to see you. Thank you so much for, per usual, being on top of it. Let me start the group on Discord. Discord. Boom, boom, boom. Beautiful. Stage is open on Discord. What up, Wendell? Aaron, my man. Stephen Blackshee. What else we got? Obviously, codeofreality.com. Let's put this in. Beautiful. What's up, Ariel? Sarah Garza. First time catching a live. Well, welcome. Welcome to Simulation Talk. How did you hear about us? One of the podcasts I was on, just randomly from YouTube. Is helpful to know. Nico, how are you, my brother? Good to see you. Lucky episode, baby. But your handle is don't watch. That's weird. Your handle is don't watch, and don't watch said 333 lucky episode. How am I supposed to feel about this? Indeed. 333, man. Can you believe it? We're already at such a number from zero so quickly. I appreciate it, Ariel. Are you from the US? Also, if you guys want to help our Twitch channel grow, you can go and follow our Twitch channel. I don't know what's happening with my pronunciation in the last few days. Hopefully nothing serious. Twitch channel, LaserX83. LaserX83, you can follow. Oh, Minnesota. How you doing? 333 is a magic OCD number. I guess it is. It's good all around. Can I plug the Twitch handle 3 times? I will not succumb to OCD, brother. Sorry. That you should, when you climb out of it, one thing you got to remember, and you will, never let it creep in with these little things. Don't give it any discounts. What up, Michelle? Never feed the beast. Exactly. Myla, how you doing? Okay, welcome to Simulation Talk 333. The channel and show revolving around everything has to do with simulation hypothesis. My name is Danny, and I'm claiming to have found proof that we live in a simulation, and we are here on a semi-daily basis talking about that, but also talking about science, philosophy, religion, spirituality, God, whatever our hearts desire. And in the last few weeks, we've been focusing on human experience-based conversations. In other words, what is it like to be a human? Is it good for you? Is it bad for you? Is it confusing for you? Why? What can we talk about that can help us have a better kind of human experience? These are the kinds of conversations that I'm encouraging currently, and of course, without a doubt, we will drift towards our regular conversations because that's what we do. But at least if we start from that more human-based perspective, there's a better chance that we'll end up with something that a lot of people find valuable. Thank you, Guru, for reminding us. hashtag human first, which is our campaign to encourage treating each other as human first or humans first before any political affiliation or any conviction you might have about the world. And we would like to encourage more of that. It's psilocyber. As a foreigner, I'm not a foreigner. I'm an American, baby. But as someone who was not born here, I always say psilocybin. No, that's not true. I do say psilocybin, but when I see it written down, maybe the remnants of my OCD cannot not pronounce the T. There's a P. There's a P in there. Psilocybin. That's what it says. Why is it there if you're not using it, man? Truly, what's up with that? What up, Terry? How you doing, brother? What do I mean human first? I just explained. Human first is the idea that the attitude we should extend to our fellow humans and everything else in the world, the biosphere, other animals and everything else, is as in a humane fashion, human first, before putting your political affiliation before the human in front of you, before putting your convictions about the world before the human in front of you. First, see the human in front of you. Human first. Then talk about whatever else you want. Bill Gates is human first. Everybody. Everybody. It's psilocybin. I guess there's an S in the it's, which exit makes it extra confusing. I'm a turtle. Turtles first. Even turtles are humans, by the way. I don't know if you knew this. I don't know if you ever seen the Ninja Turtles. They're persons. So what if they live in the sewer? Zach 144, Kundalini spontaneously speaking in different languages. Love that. Nils is saying, can you talk about how to best use social media, AI, chatbots, etc., to avoid addiction, attachment? Great question. I love this question. I think the focus should be you can't really take away your mind's attempt at staying involved while you're here. So basically, getting not addicted, but getting your dopamine hits, reframing your inner story in such a way that you would get your dopamine hits not from random content that you don't have to participate in, but from creating something. So the engagement with content from the creation side. With ChatGPT, it's a little easier because you actually have to put some thought into what you really want to do. And the second you get a little practice in, it actually becomes like a lot of fun. Like, instead of just researching something and looking on Google, thinking about clever ways of approaching the subject without fooling yourself. What kind of questions should you ask? How to ask cleverer questions to get to a more profound understanding or whatever. That's a game that I like to play. Or create something, an image, something, a written piece. Even if you're not writing it, you still have to prompt ChatGPT in a clever way to give you something of value, and not just a very clearly AI produced content. So I would say that's one way of doing it, which is reframing your own interaction with these things in such a way that it's you and it together building something versus you consuming everything through it. Great question. What up, CRPS? Guru, good to see you. Ariel is saying the human first assists in removing judgment and seeing through love. Correct. What up, J. Paul? Turtle is saying the human experience, though, the human experience is pretty crazy lately with mental health problems, etc., etc. Yeah, you're speaking about you? Commercials are intrusive. That's true. The Rev is saying message you on Instagram to CRPS. going to try and get you in touch with the people doing CRPS study with ketamine in Canada. If you were curious to chat with them. Oh, you should definitely do that. That sounds pretty powerful and positive. I was created with AI. Beautiful. Without AI. Beautiful. The question was, though, how do we interact with these things in a positive way? And yes, don't forget to like and share. And again, if you want to join on Twitch and help our Twitch channel grow, it's LaserX83 on Twitch. Good to see you, Jay. Yeah, social media is a little bit more difficult. Or try and teach your algorithm that you actually like things that are more inspiring, like music, fun music you really like, comedians, like fun things, not just doom scroll of negativity. The world in general. You know the state of affairs of the entire world? That is some ability you got, Turtle. My point is, the human experience is all you will ever know. Your own human experience is the only thing you will ever truly know. So the only thing you have to offer to this world is how you come at it in any given moment. If you're too worried about what's going on, which causes a disturbance in your system, and as a result of that, every person you meet, you oscillate that vibration, you express these concerns, you're amplifying the signal of concern. Now, it's true that to some degree we want to be aware of things that we might want to avoid, like dangers. But the illusion that we've created in this world is that somehow this seeming perception of the state of affairs of the entire world, which I assure you don't have, nobody does, it is just the result of some kind of a conglomerate of everything that your echo chamber, and that's just the case in social media, feeds you. So you think that's the state of the world. But if you look outside, the birds are singing and everything is fine. And then, of course, the first thing that happens in this junction, your thoughts go, well, what do you mean? Well, I should not be aware of what's wrong with the world? No, because there's nothing you can do about that. What you can do something about, actually do something about, if you think about what the world is, or at least the experiential world, it is the aggregate of all the instances of experience together. It's true that there's some places in the world that there's a lot more suffering than others. And if there is some direct way by which you can influence it, hands-on, you should do something about it. There's no question about that. But if in the process of that, you're disturbing yourself to such a degree and you end up doing nothing about it, all you added to the world, to the collective, is that now there's one more oscillation of negativity. That's it. So if you have a responsibility for anything, unless you can do something about something, is to actually create the most harmonious state you possibly can have at the most amount of moments throughout your day, because that's infectious. That is an influence you can have directly on the world. How you talk to people, how you greet them in the morning, it can change their moods and make it more positive. And ultimately, if we all do that, then slowly it will be a lot easier to actually smoothen out even the much bigger issues. So the illusion is very much that by being aware of something, you're helping resolve it in some way. Not only you're not helping resolving it, you're making it worse. And that's just a fact. So Human First encourages you, when you meet people directly, to not think about what's out there, which is really your imagination at that moment. It's what is right here. And then if you talk to somebody through this idea you have about what's out there and what's wrong over there, and then that person tells you, well, I disagree with you with what I think is over there. And now you're getting into a whole out of hot water with one another. And you're creating even more negativity for no reason. Like first of all, neither of you know what's actually out there. You don't know what's happening actually in real time. Yes, some of these reports are happening, but there's also a lot of really good things. The average, I assure you, is not suffering, at least not in the human condition. So there's definitely that. But again, in that moment, the thing to notice, you are not doing any service to this. Now you just created more argument here because of an idea you have of what's out there. That's insanity. So human first encourages you to remove that. Like, hey, how are you doing? Today was a little tough. Oh, what can I do to help you with that? Would you like to go and grab a coffee together or a tea or just talk about it for a second? Oh man, that's so nice of you. Person feels better. Then you can talk about whatever you want. You can open any conversation, but human first. That's what that means. I appreciate you, J. Paul. You write about AI on Substack. I love ChatGPT. Amazing. Sounds crazy to interact with AI in a positive way. Well, that's a lot of preconceived notion. That's also baggage. See, this is the trap. But there's nothing wrong with AI. It's actually a really beautiful tool. The fear of it is what creates more problems. Working with it is the thing you want to be doing because it's a tool that gives you incredible capabilities if you use it correctly. So embracing things. Guru, thank you so much for Guru just gifted 5 memberships. Thank you so much, brother. What is my solution to the trolley problem? Human first. So run over the humans first. Just run them all over. So my solution is just send 2 carts, run both the left and the right trolley with 2 trolleys, run everybody over. No problem. I solved it. For more advice, Turtle saying, I work with mental disability support services. I work with a lot of people in different mental problems. And yeah, it's around and more prominent. It's true that you might have an uptake in people who are suffering from these issues, but I assure you that actually one of the biggest offenders in that regard is the narrative that there is the problem that people are suffering from. It enforces the ease with which people slide into these conditions when in a different time, when it was less encouraged, they might have actually just found a hobby. CRPS saying, I've used ChatGPT a lot for helping my CRPS neuroplasticity. That's actually incredible. I'm happy to hear this. Oh, also, if you guys want to jump on Discord, the stage is open. I forgot to tell you that. Again, if you want to help our Twitch channel grow, go to LaserX83. I don't think social media too serious. I practice guitar and troll mostly. Although I have deep respect for several channels and people I find here. Cool. That's cool. Oh, yes. I'm so sorry, CRPS. Natasha was the name. I apologize. I do remember you told us this. You got it, Natasha. I couldn't remember if you told me the name or not. And I know I asked, but I couldn't recall for some reason. So thank you for correcting us. There was an ad, but just take a look around. Try and tell me things are getting better. I am telling you things are getting better. Why is more depression coming up? Because people, just like with everything else, where your attention goes, that's where your mind goes. If all you talk about is depression, there's going to be more depression. If you choose to see these things as beautiful challenges to overcome, and by the way, somebody who suffers from chronic depression, I can tell you that these conditions, they absolutely are the result of misaligned inner states. You can actually realign yourself with your true purpose, and it's not some kind of a flappy self-help thing. You can do this. And if there will be more education and awareness of that versus just being aware of being depressed. What is being glorified, and this is really the irony of this whole situation, that this awareness culture, what it encourages you to be aware of is just the problem, not some kind of a trajectory towards a solution. It's like, you know, oh, it's okay to admit, yeah, it's true. However, also in many cases, it's actually not that big of a deal. People convince it because if things are already, sometimes things get rough. It's true. But if you live in a culture that the second your go gets a little rough, your immediate claim to meaning is joining the group of people who are the victim of a condition, it prevents you from entering any kind of deliberation about what you might actually do about that. You just join the group of patients, so to speak. It's like, I also suffer from this. And then you just kind of belong to that group. It's true that some conditions are truly requiring like professional intervention. There's no question about that. But I'm willing to bet a lot that the giant ramp up is because of this attitude. When, this is a point that Nico made the other day. In countries in which you really have to kind of like work to survive, let's like, third world countries, there's very little people talk about depression. And some people say, well, that's because they don't have time to think about it. I would say that it actually is not present that much. It's because the meaning comes from the doing, from the actual, the actual busy work that you have to do. Now, you can find a more optimal condition, of course, but the encouragement to just find these conditions everywhere, to me, is the biggest problem. Without diminishing the true suffering of people who suffer from chronic conditions that truly need professional intervention. That is also a thing, but it is not as prominent as people would like to think. It's the amplification of the signal that tells you that everything is wrong. When again, if your eyes are, a witness to anything, just truly, just like if you think that's true, just step outside for a second. Just look at the tree. Okay, so if you wouldn't have social media that was telling you how wrong everything is all the time, you would just see the tree. Everything is fine. Just go to the store. People are fine. It's all fine. There's not more of anything. In fact, and this is a case actually done, for example, by Steven Pinker, who's very much on what you would, if you imagine this is some kind of a, right-leaning political point of view. It's actually uttered by, academics on both ends of the spectrum when they're following the data. Steven Pinker's work in his recent book, not this one, has to do with this, which is we literally have it the best in all metrics. Like if we actually look at the data, crime, everything, like it's literally the best that it has ever been. And everybody is still talking about how it's the worst. But looking at the data is something that most people are not that good at. They don't know how to do that. But you do want to listen to people who the voice of reason, like not the people that can tell you everything is burning down. They're beholden by the virus. It's not, like, it really isn't. And in fact, there's a whole new campaign. For example, there's this whole new campaign, I forget the name of it, that helps. They discovered that it's one of the biggest issues with teenagers today is somebody here would probably know. It's the panic around the global warming stuff. And they realized that's actually like a real problem. Like kids they're unaliving themselves and all that stuff. And it has to do with a whole generation of people that came before them that told them that everything is about to burn down by a decade from now. And that's the world they were brought into, that their adults are telling them it's the end. First of all, no, it isn't. Second of all, dude, is that the kind of example you want to give your kids? Even if there's problems, like who's the more helpful person if you all stuck together somewhere? Is it the maniac running around telling everybody we're all going to be not alive in a moment? Or is it the person who quietly looks at the situation and goes, okay, how do we solve this? who is more actually helpful, do you think? The loud one or the helpful one? So what they realized is that's actually a really problematic phenomena, like the one that needs to be addressed. And there's, I think, one or two major campaigns and smaller campaigns that actually designed to deprogram kids from this like doom, end of the world panic, which simply is not true. And we know this. And by the way, people knew this. This is not new. So like even the people who participated in the whole alarmist thing about global warming, you will have changes. There's no question about it. But they're by no means anywhere near any amount of certainty of, like collision with the end. Like there's just not a thing, right? And the robustness of the ecosystem is so much greater than anything we can ever comprehend. It went through list the things, right? There were five major extinction events. One of them killed almost 99% of the things on the planet, and we're still here, or life is still here. So we're nowhere near anything like this. So to say that there's problems is one thing. To even say there's major problems is also fine, and then think about solutions. The running around, pulling your hair out, saying it's the end, this doesn't make any sense, not helpful, and creates a whole generation of kids who think it's the end and therefore paralyzed and in terms of like afraid to do anything. And those are the minds that we actually need to be the most empowered, the most feel that there's a beautiful future ahead of them. So no, I can with a straight face tell you, no, things are not getting worse. What is getting worse is people's utterances and their insistence that everything is terrible. And if you find yourself that it's really, really hard for you, right? Know that there are ways that can immediately collapse that feeling. Embodiment practices are really good ways. We spoke about this in the last few days. Just bringing yourself back to the body. Simple things like taps. It sounds so absurdly simple. You try this. It will blow you away. You will not believe how effective it is. And at first, it's so effective, and it's so jarringly remedying the situation that most people, when it works for them the first few times, they don't even clock that that's what happened. In other words, they do the thing. I'll tell you what it is right now. There's a few techniques. And the second it works for them, it's so outside of what they expected that they don't even associate it being the cause for them feeling better. They think it's a coincidence that they all of a sudden started feeling better. It's like such a weird. So simple taps, right? So you tap your face, because what it does, the what happens, if you want to have the more technical explanation, what happens is, what they discovered is that one of the mechanisms in the brain responsible for one of the biggest mechanisms in the brain responsible for self-cognition, in other words, this feeling that you have that you're you, not quite the ego, because it's a more of a diffused network, but it's called the default mode network. It's called the DMN. And it is most active whenever you think about concepts that have to do with you, what you perceive yourself to be, this like inwards pointing thing. So you say, my car, the DMN is really active. You say, I like X, DMN is really active. I dislike Y. Doesn't matter what you're saying. If you're implied, this inner self implied, this network called the default mode network is most active. What they also found is that the DMN, the default mode network, is associated with high cortisol production, which is the chemical in your brain responsible for stress, one of them. So literally, the more you place yourself at the center of attention of anything, the more stress you're feeling, and they're just correlated. And they found with research with psilocybin and also with meditators that basically the default mode network goes to sleep or gets very reduced. It doesn't go to sleep, but it reduced in activity a lot. And it reduces the level of stress, the level of cortisol together with it. So literally, the less of this insistence to think about how you're in the center of the world and how everything is wrong because you're in the center and these things are wrong out there, the more stress you feel, with the added component that there's nothing you can do about it. So you feel helpless. You're like, oh my God, literally everything is falling apart. There's nothing I can do about it. So the reason that embodying yourself is really helpful is because the second you activate the body, you remind yourself there's a body, you anchor back, your attention is anchored back into your body. And because there's a bandwidth problem, so there's only so much of your attention can be allocated to different things, the more attention allocated in the body, the less attention can be allocated to everything else, including the default mode network. So the more you remember, that's why, by the way, one of the reasons that workout works so well is because you literally remind yourself there's a body. But even if you simply tap yourself this way, like your cheeks, just gently tap, forehead, we did this the other day, cheeks, temples, top of the head, not that fast. Stay on it, like maybe this long, maybe 5 seconds each, 6, 7 seconds, then go back of the head and give it like a tap. Like you want to feel it. Obviously, you don't want it to hurt, but you want to feel the tap. You want to feel the sensation. And really just focus on the feeling. Don't worry about anything else. Just kind of focus on the feeling. Do it now if you're really stressed. And then do the chest. And just keep tapping. And on the chest, you can do a little harder if you want. Obviously, if you have any condition or if you're really sensitive, do it less. And then if you can, also gently add slow breath in and out. Preferably, the exhale should be longer than the inhale. So you want to inhale slowly and then hold for about 5 seconds and then exhale slowly longer. So go. And by the way, some people would insist that you have to do it with the nostrils and not with the mouth. Don't worry about that right now. All this magical thinking, that's for a more advanced lesson. I promise you that just this alone, what I just showed you, like if you feel like you're out of control, step aside, put your phone down, literally just tap yourself and then breathe. Hold, 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 and then gently. Even do one of those, you'll feel relaxation. And you'll see that immediately everything you thought was wrong, maybe you still think it's wrong, but the amount of feelings you have for it goes down and you feel a lot better. And by the way, from that state, it's actually easier to find solutions. If you want to help problems, running around like crazy is not the way to do it. Try it. This is a very practical, super simple thing you can do if you're really, really struggling, no matter how bad you believe your external situation is. You fix that first, a lot of solutions will come to you automatically. Thank you so much for the gift, JJ. I appreciate it. I didn't see. Deeply appreciate it. Do you have any advice on accepting the past and not loathing your past self? That is a very good question. It's a very strong feeling. The self-loathing is very strong. When that happens, I know it's a very difficult thing to kind of overcome because it's the one thing that it almost feels like it's the right thing to do because you want to be self-aware. But the problem there is that everything has a pathological level to it. So actually, when it becomes too pathological, which it sounds from what you're saying, you're aware of it being quite pathological. One trick to deal with that is to think about what you're saying to yourself and imagine what it would feel like if you would be saying it to someone else. Like, would you be saying these things to someone else? I don't think so. So then why treat yourself with less respect than you would somebody else? In the end of the day, you are also a person just like them. And the shittier you feel about yourself, the shittier you show up for others. That's just a given. If you feel really bad about yourself, how you show up for other people is a direct result of that. You will not be as helpful. You will not be as caring. You'll be very self absorbed about how others perceive you. You'll be scared. It's not as good of a show up that you can give. So, if anything, you want to lower the temperature on the self loathing as a service to others because you get to show up as more for them. You're more helpful, more attentive. stronger. You paying attention to more of what others' needs are. So the irony is that the more you focus on being in a state of harmony, the better everybody around you feel all the time. That will be one way of dealing with it. But that's a really good question, and I will freely admit that it's a difficult one to overcome, but not impossible. Just think of it in terms that you are doing everybody a favor, and this is not some kind of a reverse psychology, trick. It's true. Do you want the person next to you to just be neurotic and all like, it feels uncomfortable? Or do you want someone who feels really calm and it feels really nice to be around them? Well, you want to try and be more of that. Gathering light. Love it. Take responsibility for self. True. Uh, Wait, I'm trying to get through as many comments as possible. And by the way, if anybody wants to bring points with more details, you feel free to come on Discord and just jump on the stage. That way, it's easier. You can just speak instead of being limited by the characters here. And we are, if you're asking on TikTok, we are also on YouTube. Dango Thoughts, DANGO Thoughts. That's where the majority of the crowd is. That's where I'm reading the questions from. I get what you're saying with that, yes. But personally, I think because of the internet and all this information, the main thing I look at and do is revitalize our culture. I think we have way more personal power than we would like to admit. Reading the comments. Hold on, give me 1 second. Oh, it's really cold today, and my husky is going wild outside. Charles was saying I work with Aboriginal people and will the state stolen generation. Wait. And will the stolen generation who has schizophrenia, depression, etc., telling you it's real? As long as you're saying it is, yeah, it is. That's what I'm saying. So like the I'm not negating real conditions that people have, but I'm telling you that as someone who had some of these conditions, I had clinical depression and I had really severe OCD, and I did not go through any like crazy therapies. It was all mushrooms and meditation. So It doesn't mean that all of this can be remedied this way. I know that there's some data about bipolar, for example, that it cannot be remedied by these things. It's a real chemical imbalance, and you really need intervention, fully in awareness of this. But there are absolutely techniques to help move to a better place in the process. Schizophrenia, by the way, it's a very contended uh, condition. Still very unclear to people if it's genetically induced or environment or a combination of these things. I have two people that I know well who have it. Pretty severe one, by the way. One only audit auditory, I guess, audio based, and the other one is the full spectrum, like with visuals and everything. I understand, but I'll give you an example. So, like, one of my friends who has it, and he's pretty open about it. Jacob Cormier. He was even on my podcast early on. He was born with it. He had flare ups of it, like a straight up like, and his worst flare out was, and it usually was around. He was open about this, by the way. I'm not telling anything he wasn't already saying on social media. But basically, if you look up for his conversation with me, Jacob Cormier, that would be him, and that was years ago. And the worst one he had is talking about that, how he basically had like a demon telling him to just go and like unalive other people and himself, and like just crazy. And then he found himself like naked in the subway in LA, and the police had to like it was some crazy stuff. And he said this is like the most demonic, crazy thing. And even though I know it's happening, I can't stop it. But here's the thing. He helped himself by I met him through the parkour community. I used to do parkour free running, and I met him there, and he just never quit. Here's the crazy part, and I think he's okay with this. Some people are really, really talented at things. He was the absolute opposite of a talented person. Like for maybe 10 years, maybe more. Imagine training in something for 10 years nonstop and never really getting that much better. It was kind of crazy. It was kind of weird. Like, it's like you really have to try to not be able to improve substantially in that amount of time, even if you're not talented. He just couldn't do it, but he kept on going no matter what, but because it helped his condition. He kept on doing. He always looked kind of clunky, He never became smooth. Then, out of nowhere, maybe like 3 or 4 years ago, after already being in for a long time, and this is after many, outbreaks, he all of a sudden, like, I watched him do things, and dude, he started like doing rooftops, like really advanced stuff, like jumping from trees, and he became smoother and smoother and smoother and smoother. He started organizing these events. So meaning, right, like he took a leadership position, even though he knew this condition. He helped others who had like suicidal thoughts and things like this, and he helped them, like, pull them out of it, pull them into the community, parkour community, kind of collected the lost boys and helped, gave them meaning and community, sense of community. He started leading. He started investing in Bitcoin. He was always broke. He never had like money. He was always like he had a really tough go. He since then started, like, this was like already a few years ago, he started investing in Bitcoin and really understanding it, and now he started making like a fortune. And he wrote 2 books right now. Go look him up, Jacob Cormier. He's now like really known in the parkour community. He's one of the organizers. He started like lifting weights and became super active, like really went into his body and held it. As far as I know, and I will double check with him to make sure, he stopped taking medication. As far as I know, I'm going to double check this. And he just went into the leadership position, took his life into his own hands, created a community, went into something that was very difficult for him, and it was very, very difficult for him to become better at, and he just got better. Everybody should go follow him. It's amazing content. He's doing amazing, crazy stuff now, and everybody knows him around the world in the parkour community. Everybody respects him. He wrote 2 books. He has money. Amazing. Somebody who was born with it. There's your example. And I promise you, the world is filled with myriad of the people that can do this. It's just that if you exist in a culture that encourages you to just be the victim, you will be the victim. That nobody can help you with. So that's the first step that you have to take. And this is not to berate anyone with conditions. It's just to say it's just a matter of fact that unless you take the first step out of it, no one is coming to help you. It's unfortunate news, but the only way for people to actually extend their hand and actually pull you out is if you're actively climbing out as well. Otherwise, you're just dead weight. That is not talked about enough. And that is a hard truth that the younger generation would have to swallow. But that's the truth about the world. Reading the comments, reading the comments. Wim Hof, another really great technique. I agree. Humming, also true. There's many of them. Peace to all entities, ETs, biological AI, and all sentient life on all planes of existence. Love it, Mikulus. I'm saving this message. And I approve this message. Beautiful. Thank you. I know I'm way behind, but I've been rambling. Yeah, everybody and not you, but you'll be surprised how similar we are at the core. I'm not basing, by the way, Turtle, to be super clear, I'm not basing all of this on my personal experience only. I'm basing it on my 42 years on this planet, listening to a lot of different people telling me all kinds of stories about their lives. I met a lot of people in my life. I've been around the block. I'm telling you that you have way more power. And it sounds like you took it, like you work, you help other people. But one of the things that is very important to instantiate in other people is their ability to step out of it. Joe was saying, I think one of the biggest things that has helped me deal with the past is that any negative thing that has happened to me or happened as a result of me is that they're an intrinsic part of me. Think I understand? They make me the character that I am now. The good doesn't cross without the bad. Exactly. Nicholas is asking, what do I think when Leonard Susskind said, are we even real, when he was talking about the holographic principle? It's I appreciate the question, Nicholas. I think that will take us a little bit too far afield from the subject matter today. If you come tomorrow or any other day, let's open this up. This is an interesting subject. Don't forget, I like this, but just let's table this for today, because it has to do with what I think a lot of physicists having as a blind spot, because they're not experts in inner experience. They're experts in, as Bernardo Kastrup calls it, useful fiction that we call the external world, that has regularities that it's very useful to know about them and what they do and how they arise. But to say, are we even real? Well, it depends what you mean by that. Is that, is the self real? No. Is the unitary experience real? Yes. What is the difference? That's something that's going to take some unpacking. Let's open this maybe tomorrow or the next day. But I love the question. Do I know what the stolen generation is? No, but I'm assuming it has something to do with the generation that its opportunities were stolen. Let me see. What is the stolen generation? The stolen generation refers to thousands of Aboriginal, sorry, I was completely off, Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander children who were forcibly removed from their families and communities by Australian federal and state government agencies and church missions under Acts of Parliament. This occurred between approximately 1910 and 1970, with the official policy in some regions continuing until the early 1970s. So now, Turtle, how old are you? What year were you born? And also, I see the link on Discord. I don't know what this is. Also, there's a commercial in there, so feel free to jump on and talk about it, though. Mushmerized, like it. Just raise your hand and I'll bring you up if you want to. So I'm Turtle. How old are you? Yeah. Okay. I hear the victim story. I get it, and I'm not reducing it to anything. I assure you, everybody has their plights and their story. I promise you, right? Even without the horrible stories about a specific thing, I'm not reducing it. I just wanna focus on what in fact is actionable for you in life. How old are you? 28. So you were born what? 97? Is that correct? I don't know. I'm not, my brain's not mathing right now. 97? Wait, 20. Yeah, 97, right? My brain is like, can't do math right now. So whatever it is, it was the end of the 90s, right? 96. Great. The thing you're saying ended in 1970. Do I need to say more? So this is 20 plus, almost 30 years difference between when it ended to when you were born. If you believe, which I'm not faulting you for, but this is the biggest and the most egregious lie we told your generation is that you're the victim of things that happened to your ancestors. Right now, as it stands, with everything that's available today, the only thing that stands between you and what you can do is what you choose to do. End of story. You might have a slightly lower economical status. You might start from a place where, you have some disabilities or even internal conditions that prevent you from thinking straight. All of this, I completely understand. What I assure you is that there's a lot of people that are starting from a place that is extremely unfair, and they make it really they do really well because they don't focus on what happened to somebody in a story in their head, even if that person was related to them by blood. They focus on what they can do right now about their current situation. I don't have any money. I'm gonna go find a job, make some money, invest that money, teach myself whatever I got. This stuff is really you. The absurdity is that this entire industry of kind of telling you this thing over and over and over again wouldn't even need to exist if we wouldn't be perpetuating this lie, which is that your situation is that way because hey, that was just the conditions, man. No, the conditions is right now. There's nothing in this world. The fact that you're on a computer right now talking to me tells me that you have all the access in the world to all the stuff that you got to do. And again, I don't know you personally. It sounds like you made a good life for yourself. You're helping other people. You sound like a super positive person. But what you just did is that you told me that somehow there's relevance to what happened to people in a process that sounds horrific, but stopped in the 1970s. It has nothing to do with you. Nothing. And this story is the problem. Believe me, I've had to overcome things in life. And I know people who really had to overcome things in life. It is not, the answers are not back there. The answers are right here, right now. And if you really want to help someone, that's the kind of understanding you want to instantiate in them. Still work with someone today. Oh, you're talking about the people that actually went through that. So you're not talking about the younger generation. You're talking about elderly people. But here's my. This is so. There's a difference between. So if you're talking about an individual, so I really want to get to the bottom of this. And by the way, Turtle, I would encourage you to actually come to Discord and actually jump on. And this is like in really in a really positive vibe conversation. Not sure how I'm coming across to you, but like I mean this in the best way possible. So like if you come to Discord, it'll be easier because you can just jump on and you can just speak instead of typing, and it'll be easier for me to follow what you want to say too. But if there's a distinction that you have to make. If you're working with people that are old enough that they had to go through that, that's one thing. And yes, you have to deal with that for what it is, of course. But when you're saying things like it's in my culture, that, and this is again, this is a very kind of common thing, right? Culture remembers the cultural pain. My contention, the thing I'm putting on the table is cultures need to learn to stop doing that because they're not doing anyone any service. The pain that is being held by culture, you can remember things so you don't have to repeat the mistakes, but you don't need to keep remanufacturing the pain, because the second you remanufacture pain, it's double trouble, because you're producing more negative oscillation in the body in the moment, which makes it harder to do what is possible to do now. So now you're just overlaying a weight factor that doesn't need to be there, but also you're preventing healing. And the second major thing is that you now have a complete separation between the cause of the pain and the pain itself. So now it's just pure pain because the event is no longer here. It just lives in this past, something you can't do anything about, something that doesn't exist anymore. And the culture keeps it alive. So it keeps telling everybody, don't forget, you have to feel bad about this. Across the world, that is the seed of most issues people are experiencing today. If there's anything that the West should learn from the East, is this ability to just be more in the present moment. And by the way, that does not mean being in the present moment is not equivalent to having amnesia. If you're really present, it does not mean that you cannot recall things. You can recall things, and you can even recall things very vividly, and you can even recall them with the emotional tapestry. But if you're not if you're not really good at it, the detachment is not there. So then when you're bringing the event back, you're also feeling the negative emotion. People that are really good at meditation, they can actually they can discern that there's the mental event and then there's the physical sensation, but they are not the physical sensation or the mental event. They are a separate thing. And then they can actually hold it in view, but not become of it. They don't become no, that takes practice. So my advice to somebody who's not practiced this way, stop remanufacturing it. There's no need to do this. Now, if it's a cultural thing and it's what the culture does, it sounds, like why would you say to another culture how to do things? Well, I don't see culture any differently than I see individuals. Culture is just a collection of individuals. And if one culture decides that they want to keep pain alive that doesn't serve any purpose now, for me, it's not different than an individual who chooses to do the same thing. It's the same thing, just on scale. So yes, I have no problem of saying, and I belong to some of these cultures as well. And I try not to preach to the choir. So whenever I'm in contact with people in what I would consider my community, I would say the same thing as well. We need to stop keeping the victim mentality alive, personally, collectively. It's not helpful. Like it's just not. It's not doing anything. Truly, it's doing nothing. Here in Indiana, we just snow for the first time yesterday and today. Oh, cool. I used to live in Indy. Good to see you, Pocket. I used to live in Indianapolis. Cognitive behavior therapy. I just seeing your comments, Nico. I had the mind of a fetus at 20. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like this generational trauma, you have to decide. The buck has to stop with someone. Will you be the one taking responsibility for your entire generation by saying, enough? I will process it in such a way that I will not pass it along. Do you want your children to be happy? Or do you want them to remember somebody else's pain? That's the only question you got to ask yourself. And if you want your children to be happy, take the responsibility for them. Make the buck stop with you. Stand up. Say, you know what? Okay, that happened. That's terrible. Let's build a better future. And there's many, many, many techniques on offer to do these things. And then it's a journey. But if you're willing to take this hero's journey, you will be doing a service for the entirety of the future of humanity. I mean, if it's not worth doing it for that, what else is it worth doing it for? Manifesting good burger for you, JJ. Reading your comment. Hey, Daniel, how are you, brother? Just now seeing your comments. South Indiana. Where in the South? Starbucks saying the simulacrum is coded to our symbols, archetypal minds, or the amorphic field generates it. I think it's in all of it. I think there's no distinction. Like, it just goes through the levels, basically. Well, you can't help other people unless you first help yourself, Pocket. Be careful with that. Put your mask on before you help other people, even on a flight. All right. Oh, we have quite a few people that collected here. I didn't see. And anybody, Turtle, feel free to come on. Here, I'll send you an invite. Didn't realize you already came on. So feel free to just jump on. How you doing, man? Huh?
Is my mic good?
Yeah. Every time you're gonna speak, I'm gonna mute so people can hear you better. Go ahead.
Sure. Where do read the comments again? Sorry.
I think you wanted to share.
Yeah, I was just saying that. Yeah, I'm not saying that I'm a victim. I'm just saying that there is this trauma. Trauma, just straight up trauma. That we have to deal with, and it's in the generation because, like, it's not like they deal with it, because they were like just stolen. They were taken away. They were given a new language. Like my auntie, for her to leave the mission, which is like these little kids. Australia, for her to leave, I'm pretty sure she did a white card to say that she speaks English and that she went to church. Like, you have to go to church before you leave these camps. And even just like language creates a syntax that creates a worldview, right? So, like, when I say dream time, you get like this image in your head. But for me, it's like well, there's many different words because there's many different forms, but the most easiest one is like la or lai. And it's like a whole different worldview. Yeah, I was just doing it like
So I
language creates text, right?
sorry.
So when you get rid of our language and we start leaving it gone,
Okay, so I agree that it's very hard to know what it's like to be other people who went through really difficult things that to them are very traumatizing, and they live through the lens of that pain. There's no question about that. And we always want to be the most sensitive we can be to not assume too much about how easy or hard it is for other individuals to go through this life. That being said, if you actually look at what works throughout the history of humanity and what actually helps people to just have a more fulfilling life, both personally and culturally, in every single case, the answer is just track record based. Let go. Now, it's always easier said than done. And I'm not sitting here on some kind of a throne and saying, hey, man, just tell them to let go, like, no. But if you are in a position that,
sorry,
yeah,
yeah,
go
I
ahead.
had to tell them to like, oh, because like again, I'm actually like at work now, like today I'm working with this woman. She's everything that I've said has happened to her. It was who was into drugs and alcohol. And just taken from our culture. And yeah, she like talks to herself, she screams to herself. And I'm not saying I'm the victim, and I'm not saying any of these young fellas should go around and start meeting all these white fellas either. That's not going to get us anywhere. But in saying that, I reckon we should both at least acknowledge what happened and take care of the people that are elderly, like the women that I'm working with, and because I feel like it's my responsibility. I'm the younger one. I hope. Yeah.
I fully agree. We should absolutely acknowledge it. But then what we should do with that is move on. So it's. Let me ask you this: you're in New Zealand, right?
Australia.
Australia, okay. And are you also part of the Aboriginal culture? Just younger?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
And
I'm
right. So
I go out bush and know all about the culture.
and right now I will freely admit that I don't know enough about the current situation of how the Aboriginal culture is being treated in Australia. Is it still a pretty marginalized community?
No, we have like there's been places like the last one of the prime ministers made a sorry day. There's been places. We no longer have missions, uh, and the Aboriginal people get treated well.
Oh, wonderful. So so I guess that collectively,
Benefits.
so culture does something collectively that is in the right direction, right? And there's nothing you can do about the people that like you can't just have people that have a deep trauma in their bodies to just make it go away. So you have to just help them live through the world in a way that is a little more comfortable. I'm in full agreement with that. And I guess it really is a matter of magnification. So I guess it's a level of how far you zoom out in your analysis. If you're looking on the human level, I don't think there's anybody here or anybody with a shred of human compassion and
Well, I believe reality is language, and language is reality.
Okay.
Right. So, when it's been proven if you were to learn multiple language, you'll have a completely new worldview.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And a new syntax.
You feel like a different person.
Dream in different languages.
I've never experienced that before. So I speak 3 languages. I've never experienced different kinds of dreams in the languages, but I definitely can tell you that you feel like a different person when you speak them, if you speak them well. Because this.
Well, they say you don't understand a language until you dream in that language.
True. I would put the cutoff line with mannerisms. So the second that you speak the language's mannerisms, you speak the language, because the language is more than just the meaning of the words. It's a behavior. So then there's a
it's a syntax.
It's a syntax. It's connected to your embodied self, which like American English is different than British English, not just in the way it sounds, but also in the character of behavior that it causes people to exhibit. Right? Yeah.
It's a type of being.
Exactly.
Being in time,
That's a really good way of putting it. Exactly. And I agree with that. So I guess so first of all, I appreciate.
So if you were to go in and you could go into invade someone and you take their language, what are you doing to their culture? Their worldview.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm saying. With the whole language.
Yeah, I can kind of. So this is the.
I can't even tell you. Like, here's the thing. I can't even tell you what. Because I barely know my language. Because there's so many different in Australia. But all I can tell you about my culture is the dream time, and the dream time is an English translation.
I didn't hear the last part. All you can tell. No, I couldn't hear the last part. You said all you can tell me is.
Well, all I can tell you is that in my culture we have the dream time and the ancestors. Right?
Okay.
So if I can't explain it to you in my own language, in my own culture, how can I actually understand it in my being?
Let me. Well, what we can do.
Trying to explain God to someone who doesn't understand English.
I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure. I appreciate the point you're making, but I'm not so sure it's the same. So what we can do in the human world is that we can check with each other. So if you're trying to communicate something that I never came in contact with because it has to do with a very particular cultural nuance, yes, it's going to take you a lot longer to instill that component of your culture and that feeling in me for me to maybe even be in the ballpark of understanding it. But it's doable. It's just going to take more work on your part and more work on my part to meet you halfway, to actually try and see if I really understand.
Well, dreaming and dream time is it's pretty much the same word. It's like used interchangeably, dreaming and dream time. And essentially, dream means consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
And time means eternity. So every time we dream, we go to this place.
Mm-hmm.
And this place was, it was like this type of bridge. First it was just a flight, just a dream.
Okay.
And yeah.
Okay, so if from everything you told me, and the emphasis that you've placed on it, and also the sentiment that I'm hearing you expressing, coupled with just a really quick AI overview that Google just gave me, which is Dreamtime, or the dreaming is a foundational concept in Australian Aboriginal culture that explains the creation of the world by ancestral spirits and establishes the ongoing spiritual and social laws that govern life. So now, before we continue, I'll tell you what I understand from everything you said in this, and you tell me if I'm even in the ballpark, all right?
Mm-hmm.
So what I understand is that, well, the obvious, which is that it is some kind of a foundational concept in the culture. So it's like everything rests on it, first of all. Second of all, what it essentially does, it creates a weaving, a string that connects all the generations together So it is inseparable. So in the context of dream time,
with Australia, we have like multiple different mobs, and like my mob, I believe, well, I'm not supposed to say his name in public areas, but his name is Bayani,
hmm,
and he's kind of like a figure like Thoth, and he created like the ribbon, and we have like the rainbow serpent, and we all come from its belly,
okay,
and like that, it's completely different. I guess what I'm trying to get at is that story is completely different to the Christian story.
yeah, I understand.
Our language is
Yeah, and I appreciate you expressing yourself, but just for the sake of this practice, the reason that I want to say it before you say it is because if I say it before you said it, you will know I really understood. It's only for that function alone. So what I also understand now, and this is actually very educational for me, that in the context of Dreamtime, it's actually a lot harder to sell the point, if not impossible to sell the point, that you should just let go of cultural trauma and generation and pain, because it's literally your pain. You're carrying the burden together with past generations, and you inseparable. You're one organism with all the past instances, all the way to the original part of creation that were done by the spirits, which are an integral part of who you are now. Would that be close to why this is so uneradicable from the culture?
Well, yeah, I'm no I'm no elder. No, probably shouldn't be.
Oh, I'm asking you
But
how you feel. So, like, this is really
yeah,
important. Yeah, I'm asking you
yeah, I get
specifically
what
how
you're
you
saying.
feel. Yeah,
I just thought, if anyone else is listening, I just thought, like on YouTube, etc.
yeah, and
I
I
just thought I would clarify that I am no elder. You should probably shouldn't be
sure.
listen to everything that I say.
Well, first of all,
Um,
you taught me something I had no idea about. So you already did something great because I didn't know, and you are right.
like the way I visualize the dream time is like a fire. So that's why it's like it's a place before creation, and it's a place every time we dream, we go there, and more importantly, we also change it. So it's not. It's like fixed, but it can be changed. It's like it's dynamic, forever changing it.
According to the belief in Dreamtime, is there something you can do in your personal life that will help change the trajectory of the entire energy itself?
Well, I believe if we get back to our roots and go back into the bush and talk about these stories, because even just going on walkabout is very good. A lot of our practices is pretty much just taking our shoes off and going for a walk and looking up at the stars, because during that walk and looking around, we get like epiphanies, and then that's what um, that's what like walkabout is all about. We take the shoes off, we let our feet touch the look your feet touch the ground, and we go for a walk and let the epiphanies come to us.
Interesting. Yeah. So I didn't know about any of this, and this is really enlightening and very educational. And you're right; it does put a different emphasis on this whole cultural generation thing.
So like what we believe is if we were to like walk in our ancestors' footsteps, we get the same epiphanies and the same story. So to answer your question, what would I do to fix this? I would get a lot of people back out in the bush, get people's shoes off, their soles touching the ground.
That's beautiful.
So one thing that I've learned as I've gotten older and have kind of studied the Western kind of like empirically based science of psychology is this idea of, you know, it's important to understand your traumas because it kind of helps you understand yourself. But there's a fine line between processing trauma and rumination, right? Where you start kind of like just thinking about it constantly, and it kind of seems to like oversensitize you, right? And I think that's where this phenomenon that my generation gave birth to of like microaggressions or getting triggered, right, was born, is because I think there was like a lot of rumination or maybe like a heavy emphasis on like you are traumatized or you are marginalized. And I think it results in this interesting overreaction to everything. Like when Sydney Sweeney does a Gene ad and she, you know, uses a double entendre, and you know, it's very easy to look at that and say, well, that's a eugenics dog whistle, right? But the reality is there's kind of a weird psychosis when you start viewing the world that way, when you've ruminated too much, right? They call it a cognitive distortion, right? And it's kind of interesting because I think you're right, Danny. Like meditation has helped me realize that fine line between rumination and processing your trauma, because in meditation, in mindfulness meditation specifically, you have these thoughts arise, you feel that emotional reaction, but then you're supposed to just observe it and let it go and watch it release. And that practice of letting go is a practice of desensitizing yourself to thoughts, right? And so you view thoughts as just thoughts, and they come and they go. And then you kind of view your mind as this thought generating machine, and it kind of feels stochastic. Maybe it's not stochastic, maybe it's trauma induced, but you kind of desensitize yourself to it, and it kind of helps you move past it, right? So I wanted to kind of share that because it kind of seemed to fit, but maybe it was more relevant like 15 minutes ago as opposed to the more recent Dreamtime conversation.
No, I think it's there's a middle ground in between them, and it's interesting that, you know, culturally it's a lot harder because you have a lot more momentum to the thing, but this is where I believe that cultures can actually talk to each other and learn from one another and borrow and add and subtract, and this kind of fluidity is, I think, where the answer is. Now, how do we move there? I'm not sure, but I do agree with Turtle that if the situation is such that if the belief is so strongly, like you literally have to become an orphan if you want to do it in a different way if you're part of that culture, which is the amount of pain involved in that is just maybe too great. But maybe create some, I don't know what the right word would be, sublimation, or some components that can be swapped with things that are not less than, and do not feel like they were imported for the sake of cultural dilution or diffusion. So like the culture should not feel like it's under threat to become less than what it is, but at the same time a culture needs to be more flexible to take components from the external world without the fear of completely dissipating. Like that, to me, the cultural fear of that happening is the same fear that people have about losing themselves just because they would adopt new ideas. And what I would love to see in the world of the future is cultures that can do more of the adoption. And, you know, one might claim that some Western cultures are more like that. Not all, by the way, some are. And
Yeah, I would agree as well. I would agree. You know, I'm not saying that we should abandon God as well and just go back to the dream time. You know, I think the idea of God and Christianity has helped a lot of Aboriginal people as well. I also feel like it would be,
Turtle, are you familiar with Dadiri? Is that how you pronounce it? The word,
which one?
the word Dadiri, Dadirri.
Yeah,
Yeah, is that along the lines of what you're talking about?
I think so. Yeah.
Just checking.
Yeah. So, like, I guess what I'm saying is that what I started saying before, Turtle, I would like to try and finish that point. It really comes down to level of magnification. It's very easy to analyze cultures from the outside and saying this, and this, and that, right? It's very easy. When it comes to the really up close level where real emotions are involved, then obviously it's a lot harder because you have to deal with the real impact of the emotional uh, uh, collision with whatever is being expressed. When you look more outward, like more externally, then I guess you can kind of look at it as like strategically what works, what doesn't. But that's a lot less emotional, and it's more kind of like this logical analysis. And I think they're both important. This is also why, for example, anthropologists, they're really making a note about not just looking from the outside, but really living in the culture and understanding it to some degree, which, by the way, I actually think that can cause some issues as well, because it can kind of create these overly romanticized ideas that they might have through their own cultural lens. But that's besides the point. But I do think that what needs to happen here is a combination of the tools. Like, there needs to be a direct recognition of the people and their pain and what it actually means to them, and then slowly have an open-ended conversation about how the culture can open up to new modalities that are involving also individuation, not for the sake of separation, but for the sake of correcting as a node, and then exporting that to the rest of the system. So, like, you kind of, okay, here's healing that I've done, and I come back into the system as a healed node in the system. Well, now it kind of spreads through the system. The healing spreads through the system. And I know that the culture probably has their own beautiful traditions that deal with that kind of stuff. All I'm saying is that I guess it's not like I have the answers or something, but I do feel that, considering the fact that all cultures throughout all of human history hurt each other in so many different ways, it's almost like, unfortunately, for the majority of humanity's history, it's almost like the norm, right? But that does not mean, I'm not trying to say kind of like tough, like that's what happens. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that, how do we make sure that in the future this stops being the norm? Like, how do we move towards cultures that simply not only don't do that, but don't want to do that to each other? Like, how do we create humans that simply, it's not even in the cards for them to do such things to one another, like the atrocities you described that were done to your ancestors? All right. So this is great. Turtle, I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for coming in. And I think a lot of people in the chat said thank you, because this was very educational. I did not know this. And I was very happy to learn this. Thank you.
Sorry, I was just making a cover for the client. But I was going to say, to comment what you just said, this is why I like Nietzsche and his will to power as a metaphysical standpoint, because I don't have my notes on me, but Nietzsche's will to power doesn't require any truth, an objective truth. It says, well, this is my will, this is our collective will. Like, I'm not made it.
What is the last part?
It's the collective's will.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, I hear you.
Sorry, I'm just trying to put my note. I do make a lot of notes and I do a lot of reading. But yeah, nature's spiritual power is. I quite resonate with that because in Australia, there's a lot of, I come from the mob Wiradjuri, and there's many different mobs. We all have our own creation stories, and we all have our own language, and it's just the collective will. Like we say, well, this is our will, this is our values,
Mm-hmm.
and this is what we believe in. And then another mob will say, well, this is our values, and it's also like the adaptability to the land. We would have like we have walkabout stories and what we call song lines, and as you're doing your walkabout, you might need some water, so the song will tell you where to go.
Mm.
And, yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, that connection to the land is something that I will freely admit that is completely foreign to me. So I understand it conceptually, but I don't understand it viscerally. I don't understand it somatically, and that's really what counts. Yeah, interesting. Huh.
Yeah, I'm probably butchering it as well because I'm kind of in two different spots. But again, at work.
All right. Well, like I said, thank you, man. I'm this is super educational for me. So thank you for coming on and sharing that.
Oh, no problem. Anytime. I like listening to you, and if we could talk more.
Yeah, I think it's the first time we actually spoke. Was it?
Yeah.
Well, pleasure to meet you in voice.
You too.
Awesome. And
Danny,
thank.
should we end on a 3-hour free will debate?
I don't believe it's very good.
Danny is very disturbed by this, and we don't mean to disturb you, brother. This is all with love.
I don't believe it's very well.
Yeah, but I think this is the thing that Danny is expressing, that for him it's like very disturbing.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, no, I'm saying that for Danny, for example, he really doesn't like the idea that it's too disturbing, and also he thinks it's also not true. So, but that is an interesting jumping voice just for the topic. Yeah, well, unfortunately, I do have a newborn, and I have to jump off. That's my excuse. But we can definitely do the. This is what I'm gonna do, Daniel. I'm actually gonna bring the whole free will thing. What's more interesting to me about it at this point, after going so much back and forth with people about it, is not even the whether it is or it isn't a thing. It's that I am truly fascinated by the fact that so many well-meaning people that are smart, integrated, trying to understand the world in a coherent and honest way somehow end up on two sides of this spectrum of the claim. And that by itself is really interesting to me. It's something that I said to Michael in
Nietzsche would say it's a personality thing. Nietzsche would say that if you view reality as free, and again, I'm not much tricky.
Yeah. But
if you view everything as free, you're probably weak. Because it's the strong people that find what you would call like style in constraints. Think of music theory, right? There's all these rules, boundaries in music, but that's partly where you get your style expression from.
So first of all, that is helpful, and I do think that there's something there. So it's almost like a predispensation one carries according to how they see themselves in the world, which is, of course, has to be the case. But I do think that. So what fascinates me, and this is something I told Michael from Third Eye Drops at the end of the conversation. I'm not sure if it was recorded or not, but that part. But I said, I really wanted one day to find at least one thing that both sides can say to each other that would create the beginning of the bridge. Like, what is it that is being lost in translation? So something is being lost in translation. That's for sure. It's not just a matter of preference, because there's a truth to the matter, right? I know some people would like to believe that there's a way to have them both. No, they're literally opposing statements. So one of them is incorrect. So there's some issue with the use of language that causes this mistranslation, because I currently think that what is being missed is what is ought to be meant by the term. I'm going to repeat it again. I think what is being lost in translation is what is ought to be meant by the term. If you really want to use the term for what it states to be, the essence of the term itself, it can only mean one thing. And I think that people who disagree, they simply choose to see a different portions of their cognition as that they call free will. That's the only explanation I can give it currently. So it's almost like they just name another thing that to my mind, can't be called that, because it's neither free, because it's not tethered by other things, and nor is it willing, because it's not a, but what's
Yeah, so that would be like my idea of the ego. It would be like the ego is like the sense of self, and in that you have like your idea of being free. Like, oh, I did this, I lifted my hand. But in the greater scheme of things, I don't think anything is free. I think what makes you think that is your subconscious, and yeah, everything is
So-
determined.
so
I'm
to
all about finding your true will, which is finding whatever your passion and mission is in this lifetime.
Yes, I've heard it. I read a lot of the cult as well. Mentioning cult.
so
True
to
will. True will is your true limits.
so to respect
I would say.
So to respect Danny's request, because it's his kryptonite and he should go to sleep, and I also have to go cater to my daughter. All I will say is, and we can absolutely open this again where we have time and Danny can jump on. This would be fun, and we can even bring somebody who's kind of a philosopher. Maybe that should be fun. But the one thing I will say, one day what I would hope to do is to say something to the other side of this conversation that will resonate as true and will encapsulate the truth from the way that I see it as well. So like, I want to be able to say something that the other side goes, oh, okay, I can live with that. That's what I really hope to achieve at some point. Because I really think that it's not a disagreement about the substance. I really think that the disagreement is about the way the term is used and what it points to for different people. It's the only thing that makes sense to me. And that, coupled with the fact that I do think this statement, I've said it before, and it is admittedly a more loaded and somewhat, it can come across as condescending, but it's not meant to be that. So I'm already, saying that yes, the statement it will burn your ears if you disagree with me about free will. But I do think that what is involved here is, for one reason or another, some people are having a hard time parsing time to slices thin enough to notice that the thing they're postulating can't possibly be there. But I also are of the mind that it actually doesn't matter as much as long as your natural operation and fluidity of the way the moment executes through you, whatever you are, is there. So as long as there's a harmony in the way the universe sings you, so to speak, the definition of what that instance of what we call choice really is doesn't matter as much. What matters is how that thing moves through you. Like, are you a clean vessel or are you a dirty vessel through which it's very difficult to move? Okay. We well, this, like I said, I think we might be being sucked into like a 3-hour conversation. So we can do this. We can just open the conversation for free will for another yet another simulation talk where we can kind of go back and forth. I don't know if you saw that conversation, Daniel, with Bernardo Kastrup and the interviewer for the Essentia Foundation. Essentia, is it called? In which he kind of breaks down specifically free will. I don't know if you saw it, but I'll share it with you. You should watch it if you haven't, because that's, to my mind, it's the only instance of a middle ground that I've seen offered. Like, truly, that kind of sits in the middle and allows for everybody to be happy. Which I'm sure is still, some people will still not be happy. What can you do? Thank you, guys. Before we adjourn, I do want to do this a few more nights. Let me see how much people already collected there. This is a very dear thing to my heart. There it is. So, oh, wonderful. It is moving. Okay. So this is what I'm sharing now. And I'll put it on YouTube. This GoFundMe link is a good friend of mine, Maddie. He's a musician and he's a small business owner. He makes incredible hot sauce. But their second child, their son, baby James, was born with a rare condition that causes the external parts of his brain to basically press against the skull. They started GoFundMe to help them with what is to come. So even though they have insurance, they're responsible adults. But even with insurance, they're going to be looking at, in the next 5 years, with many operations and physical therapy and speech therapy. They had to operate on their son 2 days after he was born. It was a success. They drained the liquid from the middle, and but now they're expecting many more. So they started GoFundMe to help them in the next few years. So if you have extra cash for coffee or whatever it is that you wanted to spend tomorrow, if you're willing to spare that one coffee and donate to this GoFundMe page. This is a real GoFundMe page. It's a good friend of mine. I'm familiar, I know him for many years. He's actually an incredible person. Your money will go to really good use, and I know Maddie very well. He will absolutely do this if that's in fact the case. They promise that if there's any extras, they will start another fund to actually help other parents with children to raise awareness and help children with that. Thank you so much, Joe. But if you guys actually do, so I will make sure that this goes there for sure. But if you guys want to donate, if this donation is not for the channel, but it's for them, if you use the GoFundMe page, that's actually a lot easier. It will go a lot better. So there you go. I'll put it here and I'll put it on Instagram, on TikTok as well. Or alternatively, which is I think even a funner option, like I mentioned, Maddie has a small business that he makes, and I'm not saying this because of what I'm saying now, and I'm going to keep saying it every day, and I'm not saying this because he's a friend of mine. He makes the most bomb hot sauce you will not be disappointed. It's amazing. It's called Maddie's Hot Sauce. You can go to the website, and if you buy the hot sauce, you will get amazing set of hot sauce. I promise you, it will blow your mind. Truly, like, it's my favorite hot sauce. And he just now went commercial. I remember he was growing these things in his garden and cooking it at home, and like he put so much love into it. And you will be supporting his business and therefore supporting his family. So I highly recommend. Let me drop the hot sauce link as well. There you go, Maddie's Hot Sauce right there. Boom, boom, and put it here as well. Even though there's no hyperlinks on TikTok, If you guys want really good hot sauce, he's based in Texas, but I don't know if he ships. Well, if you, I mean, the website will tell you. If they don't ship to your region, they'll let you know. But I think they ships most places. So that's it. If your money will go into really good use, $1, $5, $100, $1,000, it doesn't matter how much you can afford easily. This will go towards really good benefit. And we already made a splash. I mean, obviously, a lot of friends donated and stuff, but if I can use this channel to put people's attention on the right causes, that will be very fulfilling. So if you guys want to put your money towards good use, this is definitely one of them. That being said, if you guys want to follow me across platforms, it is Danny Goler, DANNYGOLER, on TikTok and Instagram. 888 likes. Woohoo! A lot of even numbers today. And 333, I love it. It's Goler Danny. Just swap them on X. It's LaserX83 on Twitch. And Dango Thoughts on YouTube. DANGO Thoughts on YouTube. And you can also follow my new channel on Spotify called 0 to 1 with Danny Goler, from Earthbound Minds to Cosmic Citizens. 0 to 1 with Danny Goler for short. This channel revolves around the issue of the future of humanity. What do we have to do? How would it look like technologically, internally, spiritually? I'm going to have fascinating people on this channel, so come and check it out on Spotify, 0 to 1 with Danny Goler. You can also check out the merch on the YouTube channel. Any item you buy really helps the channel. There's the Code of Reality design, the core design of items, and also the Human First, the campaign that is designed to encourage treating each other as humans first before any political affiliation or ideas you might have about the world. Free will, for example. How about we treat each other as humans first? Also, you can check out, you can join the membership program on YouTube, which gives you early access to all my content, gives you access to my weekly lives for members only that are happening on Sundays. We dive much deeper into topics. And if you sign up for the second tier and up on the YouTube membership program, make sure you email me to the email listed there, and I will send you an invite for our monthly Zoom calls. Come check out our website, codeofreality.com, codeofreality.com, where we have the lasers, protocols, and everything else. And check out veilbreak.ai, where you can share and look at other people's protocols with the lasers. And if you want to donate to the incredible film that Aaron Venden is working on called The Discovery, about the project with the laser, it's going to be an incredible film. We're in post-production now, and you can find the trailer for this film in the description of this live right now on YouTube, or you can just go to my channel, Dango Thoughts, and search for The Discovery. Under that video, there's the GoFundMe page in the description, and you can donate for the film. The film is a very lengthy and costly process. If you donate over $1,000, you will automatically be added to the list of people who will watch the movie for the first time all together with Q&A and everything. True world premiere. I think it's pretty amazing. And if not, of course, we're going to make sure everybody sees this film. Do not worry. Did I forget anything? Yes, I did. Please come join our... hold on. Let me put this here. Come join our Discord community of like-minded people who are sharing these ideas with delight. And you can find that in the link tree in the description on my TikTok and also on the main page on YouTube. Highly recommend it. If not, you can just search for Code of Reality on Discord, or CORE, C-O-R, and you'll find us there. And I want to acknowledge our incredible moderator, Guru. Thank you so much, brother. You're the man, always on top of it, on YouTube and on Discord. Thank you so much. And thank you so much, Chris, who's not with us today, but he's also a moderator. And Guru also gifted 5 different memberships today. I appreciate you, Guru. This is very, very generous of you. I want to thank our guest, Turtle, and Casey, and Nico. Appreciate you guys. And thank you so much, everybody, who are listening on Discord. And of course, last but not least, thank you so much for the audience members for making this channel what it is. Without you, this channel simply doesn't exist. It doesn't matter if nobody's listening. So thank you for always being here, for always listening, for contributing, for debating, for exchanging ideas. It's a lot of fun. So I appreciate you. Peace and love, everybody. Good night. Ciao. See you tomorrow.